I'm Giovanna Beecher.
And I'm Aaron and Giovanna Beecher.
And this is
Miguel Pro, Faith, Wit, and Revolution.
Santa María, Madre de Dios, ruega por nosotros pecadores, ahora en la hora de nuestra muerte. Amen. Oh, you must excuse me. I was praying for the soul of my dearly departed brother, Miguel. Who'd have thought that my brother, always a prankster, would become a priest and finally even a martyr?
She always includes that prankster part.
Well, it would figure you had a sudden yearning to become a priest in a time the Catholic Church was being persecuted.
I have always been known for impeccable timing.
Mexico had always been predominantly Catholic since the 16th century. But by the early 19th century, the Catholic Church had been stripped of much of its power and property. During the dictatorship of Porfirio Diaz from 1876 to 1910, the church and government in Mexico had found ways to coexist uneasily but peacefully. But tensions grew as time went on.
Talk about the 1917 Mexican Constitution.
The 1917 Mexican Constitution, which is considered by some to be the first socialist constitution even before the Soviet Constitution, attempts to help the worker but attacks the Catholic Church.
Public worship was prohibited outside of churches.
Monastic vows were banned, and all monastic orders were outlawed.
The federal government was given jurisdiction over all churches.
Only a socialist and secular education was allowed, considered rational.
In some states, the oppression of the church is even worse. In Tabasco, Governor Cannibal expelled any priest who would not marry, attempted to destroy all existing churches. The situation was so bad that some people took up arms. The Cristeros had not breathed their vows, but understood that the church and her followers needed to be protected.
The Cristeros of men rebelled against government in defense of the Catholic Church. None of our families were violent Cristeros. We were refrainers. Of course, there's some people involved in the movement motivated by their own greed. Someone told me Cristero General was in rebellion, mainly because he was paid twice the salary of a federal. But our family really believed in the cause. Humberto, my other brother, was a member of a group called the National League for Defense of Religious Liberty.
I had to go away for the seminary because it was too dangerous in Mexico. I enjoyed my studies, but the food, not so much. 1925 I was ordained a priest. It was a happy time for me.
But Miguel was not able to enjoy this happiness for long, because it was then that Plutarco Elias Calles came to power. Calles came and showed at once that he hated the church and the clergy. Miguel saw this and begged superiors to be allowed to go back to Mexico.
Thank God that my health was not the best. It was really my poor health that convinced my superiors to let me leave Belgium and go back to Mexico. Working the underground Mexico revived me. I knew it was the food.
Miguel was very happy doing his work in Mexico. He had what were called Eucharistic stations, which were places which he would get to, somehow, without the police noticing, and distribute communion. These stations were moved from place to place, so to avoid detection. To avoid the police, Miguel would disguise according to where he would be. If he was going to mechanics, he'd wear coveralls such as a mechanic might wear. Always daring, Miguel once posed for a picture in disguise in front of Calles' very house.
I was a master of disguise. That's a great picture. You can't even recognize me.
Miguel always went to his friends. He had to listen to confessions hours on end, and twice would be carried out because he passed out from exhaustion.
Straight from the smooth pillows of seminary, I was not used to the hard bench of the confessional.
He could have been arrested at any time for seminary activities. Priests have been thrown from trains, shot during mass, or the government just made them disappear. One time, Miguel went to a Eucharistic station and saw two police guards outside.
First, pretended to flash my police badge at them and told them there was a gato, a cat inside. Cat was code for hidden priest. They let me in without a question and respectfully saluted me when I came outside.
Miguel had several of those keys, fooling the policemen all over the city. He administered the sacraments in secret. It was his way of revolting. But Miguel did not use violence against the government. Like other priests, he joined the Cristeros and actually bore arms against the government. Miguel preferred peaceful resistance. There was the National League who used 600 balloons over Mexico City with religious leaflets inside.
How sad I saw that I only carried my pockets.
Calles was outraged at being made into a fool and ordered an investigation. Our house was raided because of Humberto's dealings with the League, but they found it empty, so they raided, planning to arrest anyone who entered.
They caught me that time.
While in the jail building, the jailers asked Miguel whether to pay a fine because Calles was so upset over the religious leaflets that dropped down. My brother's exact response was,
No, sir, and for two reasons. First, because I have not a cent, and secondly, if I had, I would not want to feel remorse for the rest of my life, having contributed even a penny from my own pocket in support of the present government.
It was a miracle that he didn't get shot for that response. But Miguel's first vest led to his final one. The government was watching him, waiting for a chance to capture him. They got that chance when there was an attempt to bomb Aaron and Giovanna, the presidential candidate.
The car used by the would-be assassins was owned by me and my car brothers Humberto and Roberto. We sold to someone, and they sold to someone else. Besides, that was a good idea of overgone with dynamite.
My brothers were arrested. Then Miguel's revolutionary prayer did not end yet. While in jail, the jailer said that my brothers were always singing and praying. Miguel kept up everyone's spirits, just as he had in freedom.
Gaudete, Christus is not to Sorry, I was reminiscing.
It was actually Seguro Vilches, a militant who was responsible for the assassination attempt. He told the officials that my brothers were in no way involved. Even though the men involved were caught, no proof of my brother's guilt were found, they were not released.
I could have been in safer hands while guards watching over me. And besides, Anna Maria, our dear sister, brought some delicious food. Worst thing was the questions. They asked the same thing over and over again, but we had nothing to say. Must have been boring.
I do think that Miguel was happy being in jail, knowing that he was likely to be martyred for his faith. He spent his last night sleeping on the floor. He was given his possessions. There was a faint glimmer of hope when General Roberto Cruz, Caya's chief of staff, tried to have my brothers released. Cruz knew that their courage would not have the government's popularity. Also, there was no solid evidence that they were even guilty. Because was a stubborn man, and he would kill my brother. In his eyes, Miguel was guilty of an even bigger crime than bombing a car.
I was guilty of being a Catholic priest.
Miguel was a symbol of the power that faith gave the people of Mexico.
Cayas considered faith superstitious and weak.
Cayas felt he had to fight the suffering and other methods he found inflicted. He dreaded that my brothers would be murdered. Cruz's voice came out his orders. Miguel was the first one led up to the execution site. All around, photographers and journalists that Cayas had invited in order to make a big show out of it. Miguel was led to a wall scarred with bullets until he could have one last wish. He asked to pray. After praying for a second, he stood up and, outstretching his arms in the form of a cross, declared in a clear voice,
Viva Cristo Rey!
Long live Christ the King. Short life of Father Miguel Pro had ended. In a later interview by an Americana reporter, Cayas says he had no personal hate for Miguel. Cayas insisted that he killed Miguel in self-defense. If he did not strike first, the Cristeros would destroy him. But the strike that Cayas had performed backfired. When people saw the picture of my brother, sitting bravely, ready for death, they saw a martyr. When Cayas heard this, he made it a crime to own such pictures. He was ignored. Even the headline, "The masterminds of the dynamite attack, been convicted and confessed," failed to impress the people. They thought only of paying their respects to a saint for a rebellion against a suppressive government through his prayer, works, and will.
It never works when the government tries to control matters of faith in order to gain power over the people.